I'm not interested in studying Antifa. I'm not even interested in studying the Klan or sovereign citizens right now, because that is not the imminent threat that black men face on a daily basis. And right now, too often, it is law enforcement, those who were sworn to protect and to serve. And so all we're asking today is to deal with that. I don't mind dealing with other pieces of legislation. I don't mind dealing with other issues that you all may have. And what I don't want to leave this conversation with, and why I'm speaking now instead of later, is because I don't want you all to leave here saying, well, we didn't know. We didn't know that's how you felt, Cedric. I want it to be crystal clear, and I will give you the benefit of the doubt that it is an unconscious bias that I'm hearing, because at worst it's conscious bias, and that I would hate to assume from any of the people on the other side.
Will the gentleman yield?
Sure.
I appreciate your passion. Are you suggesting that you're certain that none of us have non-white children? Because you reflected on your black son and you said none of us could understand.
Matt, stop. I'm not about to get sidetracked about the color of our children. We're talking about black kids. I reclaimed my time.
You said that.
I reclaimed my time. I know.
You want the discussion?
I know that
gentleman reclaimed his time.
I said I reclaimed my time. I already know that there are people on the other side that have black grandchildren. It is not about the color of your kids. It is about black males, black people in the streets that are getting killed. And if one of them happens to be your kid, I'm concerned about him too. And clearly I'm more concerned about him than you are. So let's be clear about that.
You're claiming you're more concerned for my family than I do? Who in the hell do you think you are?
If the shoe fits.
You don't know how much we care about our families.
Kick, dog, holler.
You should take those words down. I know you care about your family and love your family.
The gentleman will suspend. The gentleman will suspend. The time belongs to the gentleman from Louisiana.
Cedric, would you yield?
Was that a nerve?
If you want to see just how hellbent Matt Gaetz is to not address the issue right in front of us, consider that Democratic Representative Cedric Richmond had just gotten done saying that this hearing on police reform is not about Antifa, it's not even about the KKK. This hearing is strictly to focus on the issue in front of us, and that is police brutality against black Americans. And yet Gaetz' response, despite all of this, is to challenge Richmond on whether Republicans have black children. I mean, you could not have had a more bad faith rebuttal than that in response to a plea by a black lawmaker to focus on the problem, Gaetz' response is to literally divert attention elsewhere. Because of course. Also, how characteristic is it that Matt Gaetz can turn this argument, made by a black member of Congress about black Americans dying at the hands of police, into a way to paint white Republican lawmakers as the victims, to claim that Republicans aren't being considered, that hey, maybe one Republican has a black child or grandchild, and so Democrats are somehow being unfair by not suggesting that Republicans have a vested interest in caring about black people. Republicans, by the way, who have one black member in the House, and even he decided to retire. But sure, how dare the Democrats suggest that diversity isn't a core principle on the right too? Got it. By the way, this is coming from Matt Gaetz, who in this same committee hearing literally could not bring himself to say Black Lives Matter.
Can anyone on the Republican side say unequivocally Black Lives Matter?
Unequivocally, all lives matter. Why is that a problem to acknowledge?
Reclaiming my time.
That's who we're being lectured about race by. The guy whose response to simply acknowledging the humanity of black people is to pretend, yet again, that it's an attack on white people. It must be exhausting being such a victim. Also, it's worth mentioning that Gaetz has done this before, where he hijacks a meeting about a worthy and noble cause to instead advance his own unrelated agenda. Back in February of 2019, Gaetz actually turned a committee hearing on H.R. 8, the Universal Background Checks Act, with the parents of Parkland students who'd been killed in the audience, and used it to do Trump's bidding and advocate for a wall on the southern border.
The pain and anguish and sense of loss felt by those all over the country who have been the victims of violence at the hands of illegal aliens. H.R. 8 would not have stopped many of the circumstances I raised, but a wall, a barrier on the southern border may have, and that's what we're fighting for.
Mr. Chairman.
Well,
Gentlemen will suspend.
And so again, I think that was a rather instructive moment for the committee, Mr. Chairman, because as we gather here in Washington, there are a divergent series of views and inputs and thoughts. And my concern is that by adopting H.R. 8, we actually stifle the innovation that could lead to better public safety outcomes if we allowed states and local communities to deal with the challenges my great state of Florida has. And so again, I hope that we'll deal with all of the drivers of violence. The greatest driver of violence in the circumstances that I indicated was not the firearm. It was the fact that we have an immigration system that allows people to come here violently. We engage in...
There will be no comments or demonstrations, please.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Who's it?
Is there any committee rule or a point of parliamentary inquiry, is there any committee rule that prevents a member of Congress from reciting false statements in a committee hearing that are unsupported by the evidence, or are members of Congress entitled to just make things up in support of specious arguments? It's a parliamentary inquiry.
Just in case you thought Gaetz running defense for his own agenda was just some depraved one-off stunt. So Gaetz can grandstand and pretend that he's just livid over the very suggestion that Representative Richmond may care more about people than he does. But if Gaetz wants people to think he cares, then he should probably act like he cares. And so far, it seems that the only people that Matt Gaetz has spent any time proving he cares about is Donald Trump and himself. If you like that video, please check out my brand new podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I'll cover the most important political stories of the week and interview major players in the world of politics. Available now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check it out and subscribe now.